Hello there, my budding mathematicians, not good day chargers, judgy McJerk faces. Today, we're going to talk about transformations of quadratic graphs primarily using vertex form. We're going to have to reach back into our prior chapter 4 knowledge and use completing the square to do this. First and foremost, you need to know what vertex form looks like. It looks a little something just like this. All right, so it's going to look like y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Lots of crazy letters in here. You might recognize some of them from the completing the square. So hk is going to be our vertex. X equals h is your axis of symmetry. I'm just going to put sim. And that's the most important parts you need to know. Now, when we get started here, we're going to use a whole lot of completing the square. So what I'm going to have you do first is make where it says y, we're going to make that 0. So 0 equals x squared plus 6x minus 5. Now, remember, for vertex form, we want to move the constant to the other side. So I'm just going to kind of flip it over here. X squared plus 6x plus the blank equals 5 plus whatever blank we put in here. Now, remember, we fill in the blank by using b over 2, which is 3. And then we square that and get 9. So 9 goes in our 2 blanks. Now, I'm going to write my left side in factored form. So x plus 3, square root of x squared is x, square root of 9 is 3, squared equals 14. That is completing the square, right? Now, if we wanted to solve this, we would take the square root of each side and solve for x. But in vertex form, we want to keep our equation. So what we're going to do is take our 14 and put it back on the other side and have x plus 3 squared minus 14, and that equals y. So you'll see, let's look back at our original idea of what the vertex form is. You can see that we've got x minus h. So here we have x plus 3. That means our axis of symmetry is negative 3, because it should be minus 3. So that means it's negative 3, opposite sign of what is a present. So our axis of symmetry is going to be x equals negative 3. And if you look back at the original equation, we'd usually find the axis of symmetry by x equals negative b over 2a. That would be negative 6 over 2 times 1, which is indeed negative 3. We know our vertex is at hk. So our vertex is at h, which is negative 3, and k. Negative 14 here should be plus k. So that means our vertex is at minus 14. Dang it, force. So I'm sure if you were to plug in negative 3 to our original equation, that y would equal negative 14. So the vertex form is just another way to use algebra to correctly graph our parabolas. When a is not 1, it's just a little bit different. So we've got negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 3. Let's, again, make y 0. So 0 equals negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 3. Let's move 3 over to the other side. I'm going to kind of flip it around. So negative 2x squared plus 8x plus a blank equals 3 plus a blank. Now, remember when we complete the square, we can't have an A be anything but 1. So I'm going to look at the left side. I'm going to factor that 2 out, or negative 2, really. So negative 2 comes out. Negative 2 divided by 2, negative 2 is just 1, so I'm left with x squared. Positive 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4x. And that's plus our blank. And that equals 3 plus our blank. But the only difference here is I'm multiplying negative 2 times all of the things on the left. So I'm going to multiply whatever is in our blank times negative 2 as well. So I'm just going to kind of put a blank there that I get to fill in. So now let's figure out what we put in the blank. I do b over 2. So negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. And then I square that and get 4. So 4 goes in those blanks. So we can simplify just a smidge. I'm going to factor on the left, so negative 2 stays. The square root of x squared is x. The first sign is minus. The square root of 4 is 2, and that's factored on the left. On the right, we've got 3 minus 8. 4 times negative 2 is 8. So we've got negative 2 times x minus 2 squared is negative 5. The very last step, I'm going to move negative 5 over to the other side by adding it to both sides. My final answer is going to be negative 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 5 is y. That's it. I say that's it. That's lots of work, and you can totally do it. I have total faith in you. And I have so much faith in you that I want you to do the next one on your own. Get ready, set, go. All right, let's do it. I'm going to flip it around and make y 0 all at once. So I've got x squared plus 4x plus 6 is 0. I need my constant to be on the opposite side, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I get x squared plus 4x plus a blank equals negative 6 plus a something. We need to know what that something is. So I do b over 2 is 2. Then I square that, and that is 4. So that goes in both of those blanks. Now, I'm going to factor what's on the left. Square root of x squared is x. First symbol is plus. Square root of 4 is 2, and that's squared. And that equals negative 2. Last step, I want everything to be on the same side of the equal sign. So I add that 2 to both sides. And I get x plus 2 squared plus 2 is y. And that's your final answer. Super. Do the next one. Ready, set, go. All right. This one is much like the next to last one that we just did. So let's go ahead and get started. How we usually do. We're going to flip it around. 2x squared minus 12x plus 17. And then we make y 0. I'm going to move the constant to the other side. So that means I'm going to subtract 17. 2x squared minus 12x plus a something equals negative 17 plus a something. Now, we cannot continue until the left side has an a of 1, so I'm going to factor 2 out. And I've got x squared minus 6x plus a something. And that equals negative 17 plus, remember, 2 times a something. We have to multiply by 2 on both sides. Now let's figure out what we're multiplying by, what our fill in blank part is. B over 2 is negative 3, and that squared is 9. So we put 9 in the blanks. Let's factor the left. 2 stays where it's at. Square root of x squared is x. First symbol is minus. Square root of 9 is 3, and that is squared. And that equals negative 17 plus 18. Simplify. 2 times x minus 3 squared stays the same, equals 1. Now I need to make it equal to y. So I subtract 1, and I get 2 times x minus 3 squared plus minus 1, dang it, minus 1 equals y. Ta-da! You totally wrote it in Vertex form. All right, let's look at what these changes do to our parabola. Horizontal translation has to do with h. You can see the green parabola, if h is less than 0, that's your axis of symmetry, is less than 0, your parabola moves to the left. If it's greater than 0, it moves to the right. That means your axis of symmetry moves to the right. Your parent function is here at 0. K tells us where your vertex is. So if k is greater than 0, your vertex moves up. If it's less than 0, the vertex moves down to the green line. If we look at reflection, we already know that if A is positive, your parabola opens up. And if A is negative, your parabola opens down. So let's A, that, by the way, is the number in our vertex form that is right here in front. A, it's in the very front. You can see it again right there. Dilation, that's how far it's opened up. If it, oh, don't know what that is. If your parabola has an A of greater than 1, you've got a little bitty skinny parabola that looks like a closed umbrella with its point facing down. I don't know. If it's A is between 0 and 1, if the fraction of a positive fraction, and then you've got a really wide umbrella, like an open umbrella that's upside down. And if the absolute value of A is equal to 1, you've got this parent function that we really care about. So let's now use these things that we know about our parabolas to graph them using no algebra, if that makes any sense. We're not going to do any calculations. We're going to, well, we are going to do some calculations, but we're going to focus our results on graphing, okay? First, we've got y equals x squared minus 10x plus 32. We're going to write it in vertex form. I'm going to flip it around. X squared minus 10x plus 32, and I'm going to make y 0. Now, I want constant on the other side, so I'm going to subtract that. And I get x squared minus 10x plus a something equals negative 32 plus a something. Let's find out what the something is. Negative 10, which is b, over 2, is negative 5 squared is 25. That's what goes in the blank. Now we've got square, we're going to factor what's on the left. Square root of x squared is x. First symbol is minus. Square root of 25 is 5, and that's squared. And that equals negative 7. We want everything on the same side of the equals, so I'm going to add 7 and add 7. So final answer, x minus 5 squared plus 7 equals y. We want to graph this. We've already said. So our vertex form is, let's go ahead and write the original down so we have it to compare. That is x, a, which we don't have one, x minus h squared plus k equals y. So h is our axis of symmetry, and it's minus minus, so it's the opposite of the sign. So our x minus 5 means our axis of symmetry is plus 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here's where that little dashed line goes. That's our axis of symmetry. Now, K is the vertex along that axis of symmetry. So the vertex is at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And a point goes there. Now, we're just going to have to plug in another value because our y-intercept, if we look above, the y-intercept, whoa, don't know what that's doing. Y-intercept is at 32, which is very far off of our graph. So let's find another point. Let's plug in 4 to our equation. I get 4 squared minus 10 times 4 plus 32. Well, that's 16 minus 40 plus 32. Negative 40 plus 32 is negative 8, and 16 minus 8 is 8. So the vertex is at 7. The next one on either side is 8. And now we've got a parabola. Okay. I'm hoping that this either really clears up graphing for you. I'm hoping it doesn't really make it crazy harder. Let's do another one. Whew. All right. We'll flip it around. X squared plus 6x equals, and make that 0. There is no constant here where would be c that we have to move over. So we're already ready to factor and complete the square. So we need b over 2, which is 3, and that squared is 9. So that's plus 9 plus 9. So we've got x plus 3 squared equals 9. I want everything on the same side. X plus 3 squared minus 9 is y. Now we can graph. X minus h, remember? So if x plus 3 is what we have in the parentheses, that means our axis of symmetry is at negative 3. So we go left 3, 1, 2, 3, and we make a little dashed McDashed line. The vertex is at negative 9, so we go down 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then if we look back at our original equation, there is no c, so that means our y-intercept is at 0. So that's 1, 2, 3 to the right. So 1, 2, 3 to the left is also 0, and that's what we call parabola. All right, please and thank you. Try the very next one on your own. Ready, set, go. Okay, I hope we got it. We need to do, flip it around. X squared minus 8x plus 6 and make it equal to 0. I'm going to move my constant over. Now I've got x squared minus 8x plus a blank equals negative 6 plus a blank. Let's find out what the blank is. Negative b, or no, just plain old b, which happens to be negative, over 2 is negative 4. Square that, and we get 16. So that is where the blank is. Factor x minus 4 squared equals 10. Move it all to the same side. Subtract 10. And we get x minus 4 squared minus 10 is y. Now we can graph. 4 is our axis of symmetry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our vertex is at negative 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Way down here. This is a bad graph. And then our y-intercept is at 6 from our original equation. All right, so we went down 10. Now we're going to go up 6 for the y-intercept. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Holy cow, it's off the graph everywhere. Holy moly. Look, you know what? I'm going to graph it. And you should also, where each line accounts for 2. So for our axis of symmetry is at 4, that's here. And if the y-intercept is at -10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, that's right there. The y-intercept is at, I said, so -10 is the vertex. 6 is the y-intercept, 2, 4, 6. And that's 1, so 1 there. And now we have it. There we go. Whew, that's a close one. All right. Please take some practice. You can do it. I'm here to help. Good luck. Deuces.